when we talk of perfect living masters, the definition of a perfect living master is one who has experienced and is still experiencing while amongst us an experience beyond time, an experience beyond the mind. Such a person who can be a human being just like us. Indeed, he should be a person just like us, so we can befriend that person, because it's friendship that's going to be making us co-travelers together. Merely hearing a sermon or a speech from somebody does not help. Most of the time we hear nice speeches and then we just forget about them. They come from one ear and they go out from another ear as soon as we leave. They're very nice speech. If you ask people who hear these sermons, what did you hear today? It was very good. What did he say? You don't remember exactly, but he did say something very nice. That's the way we treat speeches and sermons. Therefore, if you are a friend of a person who has that awareness, the friendship takes you back. That is why they say that a perfect living master becomes a true friend of ours. And in friendship, we walk together. He never says, I am going to go ahead of you, I am sitting somewhere else, come with me. He takes the position that he is exactly where you are, and he travels with you, and as you go on, you discover he already knows where we are going. This is a discovery together as friends. So, a perfect living master comes exactly like us. If he came as too different from us, then we would not be able to become friends. The difference will be too much. I sometimes give the example, supposing a master were to come into this room and fly on the sky here. It will be unusual. And what will be our reaction to a man who's flying in the sky in this room, and we are just waiting to see what's happening? Most of us will think there must be a trick. There must be some rope or string somewhere, and we'll try to look for where this magic is taking place from. Some of them who see there's no string might even faint. Faint-hearted will faint at seeing how could this person be up in the air. Nobody will be in love with that person. We could even worship that person. We could even admire that person, but nobody could love that person. Supposing he falls down while trying to do this, so many of us will run to help him and friendship can be developed. That is why the ordinariness of a perfect living master is necessary for friendship. And as friends, the travel takes place to higher levels of consciousness, just like any two friends can travel very nicely anywhere else here. That is why it's so important to understand the role of a perfect living master as a human being is just because he is come here to be friendly, to be able to take you as a friend, as a co-traveler, as going together. There's an old story told of a king. We have a lot of stories in India about kings and benevolent kings and malevolent kings, so it's a nice way to start a story. There was a king, and he was a very generous, good king, benevolent king, and he wanted to make sure everybody is happy in his kingdom. So one day he disguised himself as an ordinary person, and he went around looking for people how they were living. He walked into the forest and saw a poor man making logs out of trees, cutting the trees, taking little logs on his back and selling it in the market, making a little money and feeding his family. He told that man, look, I can take you to the king's palace and get you something. He said, don't talk nonsense with me. Nobody can go anywhere near the king's palace. He says, okay, I can try. I have some connection with the guard who sits outside the king's palace. So he brings this man. He says, you are taking a big risk. The poor man says, you are taking a big risk going near the palace. We don't go near the palace like that. But when he goes to the guard, he gives the sign to the guard not to tell who he is. And he tells the guard, can we just peep inside where the king lives? The guard gives permission, and this man is surprised. He says, you have so much connection here that you can go and look inside the palace. So he goes inside, then he comes out and he goes back. He cuts logs with the man, poor man, becomes his friend. They go every day and sell the wood in the marketplace. The next day he takes him that I know somebody else. So I know the minister inside. So now gradually he is building up faith that maybe he has connection. And ultimately he goes right inside and tells the minister, don't tell him who I am, but He says, we just want to look at the king from a distance. He says, oh no, it's very difficult, but okay, I will allow. Eventually, he gets permission and goes in, and the throne is empty. So he says, I'm going to look at the king. And this man is very excited. And the man who is accompanying him sits on the throne. He says, I am the king. He says, why didn't you tell me first? He says, I told you I know the God, you didn't believe me. How will you believe I was the king? The masters come like that to us. If they told us when they are here in human being who they really are, we will never believe. It's impossible for us to believe this. But when they take us stage by stage, at every stage we realize more and more who they are. At the end we find there was no difference between them, the Satpurush, who we say the creator of all, and ourselves. That we are all part of the same one. So it's a very interesting journey. There we, because of our minds, cannot believe.